Well, it's good to be back with you after being gone for a little bit. I missed you and I'm happy to be here back with you. We continue with our Discernment of Spirits Mondays, and we began to talk about Rule 5, which we titled Spiritual Desolation, a Time for Initiative, right? This sense where when we find ourselves in spiritual desolation, we can do things to fight back. And St. Ignatius suggests 4 things in this rule. Insisting more upon prayer, we talked about this, kind of just asking the Lord to take this away. Second, meditation, especially meditation in God's faithfulness. We talked about this too. And then the last 2, which we haven't talked about, which we'll talk about right now. Third is much examination, and then a suitable way of doing penance. And so let's just kind of describe these 2 briefly. So much examination. I think the easiest way to describe this one is through an example. So imagine a man whose name is Adam, and he's a faithful man who has the Lord at the center of his life. And on the way to work, he commutes via train to work. He usually kind of spends some time reading scripture. And this particular day, he is a little bit distracted and kind of not super feeling the whole thing about meditating upon scripture. He arrives to work, and he finds himself being kind of very impatient with his co-workers, which he actually tends to be super kind to them, especially as he has made the Lord the center of his life. And as he, experiences this impatience, he also experiences kind of an inner disquiet within him. Again, this sense of maybe a little bit of a spiritual desolation. Lunchtime arrives, and usually he does a little bit of prayer before he goes to lunch. And he is just not feeling it, and he actually makes an internal choice of saying, I'm going to skip prayer today. And as he kind of makes that choice and kind of the lunch hour comes close, he's also tempted to go and have lunch at a nearby place that he knows is not going to be good for his spiritual life. And as he's about to just kind of start his lunch break and just go with his commitments he just made of he's not going to pray and go to this place to eat, he realizes something's not right. And so he stops. And he realizes something that's not correct, and so he begins to do examination and try to examine what is happening. Like, why am I feeling this way? I'm being impatient. I didn't want to pray this morning. I don't want to pray right now. I feel this inner disquiet. So he begins this examination upon himself to see what's going on. And where is this coming from? And then he recalls that morning, as he was kind of heading out of his house, his son was kind of asking for some attention, and he was kind of really harsh against him and didn't give him the attention he was desiring. And he saw the hurt in his son's eyes and also the hurt in his wife who witnessed this thing, right? And so he just kind of left without even apologizing or anything. So he realizes, wow, this is maybe where this is coming from after having done this examination. So he chooses then to call his wife at that moment. And as he calls her and just hears the joy of her receiving this phone call, his peace is kind of restored, and he goes about his day, again, praying before he actually goes to lunch, and then going to have lunch at his usual place with his co-workers. Again, with this example, I think we kind of see what Ignatius may mean by examination, right? If you find yourself in desolation, a way to fight is doing examination. What is happening? What am I experiencing? Where is this coming from? Is this coming from a particular thing that happened not too long ago? And that's helpful, as you see, was helpful for this guy, Adam, right? And there's this shift that happens here that we'll talk about more in the later rules of myself in desolation, moving to myself reflecting on myself in desolation, kind of becoming aware and then reflecting upon my experience. This shift is a huge win to fight desolation. From just being in desolation, just going through the desolation to I'm aware and I begin to reflect upon myself in the fact that I'm in desolation. So that's much examination. And then the last one from this rule is extending ourselves in some suitable way of doing penance. And so the key word here is suitable. So it has to do something related to what we're experiencing. So let's say I'm experiencing desolation, right? God feels far away, and my time of prayer comes. Maybe I'm committed to 15 minutes of prayer every day, And I'm there and I start my prayer and it's been 7 minutes, and every 30 seconds I'm looking at my watch to see if my prayer time is done. And I'm tempted to leave my prayer time early because I'm like, I'm done, I just don't feel God and I want to leave, right? So a suitable way of doing penance here would be like, not only am I going to finish my prayer time, but I'm going to stay an extra minute and a half, right? It's almost like just hitting the enemy right in the face, saying, no, not only am I going to like fulfill my commitment, but I'm going to go even over that, right? Not only am I going to resist, but overthrow the enemy, right? It's a suitable penance, an extra minute when I don't want to be there. Or maybe a person, knows that social media can be dangerous for them, so they limit social media to just, 15 minutes a day for them. And one particular day, as they're experiencing spiritual desolation, they know they're going to want to spend more time in social media because it's a way in which they can seek a certain gratification. And so as their time to have their 15 minutes that day of social media, they say, I'm not even going to do social media today, right? Suitable way of doing penance as a way of fighting back this desolation, right? Or maybe somebody struggles with sometimes over drinking, and so one particular day, again, this person is struggling with desolation, and they know if they have maybe a beer, they may have too many beers, and so they say today, not even a beer, right? This suitable way of doing penance as a way of fighting back this desolation that can kind of pull us even further, right? And this is kind of just rule 5, right? A time for initiative. And when we fight in this ways, desolation, the fruit is that desolation will be gone quicker. We're not helpless when we're in desolation, but we can do things to fight.